I've never walked alone. Nah. 'Cause you're faithful to the end and closer than a friend, and your love will never fail. In every season you are there. Faithful.
Well, I got a question for you to kick this little podcast off. Are you a good advice giver?
Probably not. I don't know. No, probably not, because
Are
I don't
you a
know how to do things myself.
are you a good advice receiver?
Probably because I worry so much about making sure I do something right. So if I ask somebody what I need to do and they tell me, I try to do it that way. So I make sure that I don't get in trouble for whatever rule follower here. First child.
Well, do you question what someone says if they give you advice? Do you question if their information is true, or do you just take it for what it is?
I think it might, for me, depend on who they are and sometimes their motives. I mean, sometimes if they just give me unsolicited advice, then there's a motive behind it. So I don't listen to them. Or a
Okay.
question, why are you giving me this advice? Or, I mean, I will have to say, if I've had somebody in my life that has made it their life mission to make things difficult for me,
Mhm.
and you just all of a sudden are nice to me and want to give me advice on a problem I'm having, most of the time I'm going to question, are you trying to set me up? I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So, do you give unsolicited advice, or do you only give advice when someone asks you for your advice or your opinion?
I mean, I know I've given it when it's not been asked before. I've tried to watch myself as far as, especially with my children, especially now that they're grown, because well, I think we all do it when they're younger. Um, that you just tell them what you think and give them advice. And I'm trying to hold back on that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have. I don't know. My personality is not one. I don't know. Maybe somebody will call me up and say, Lisa, you're told a bullface lie on your podcast. But I don't think I don't know. I don't think I'm one that just automatically jumps in and tells you what I think you need to do to try to fix X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I'm too much of I want you to be happy and not get upset because what I might tell you might be the opposite of what you want to hear. So therefore I just go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I am.
I'm asking because I am the kind of person. Okay, so let me back up. So, I have been on a journey for a year, almost a year, I guess, of this is going to sound so silly. So, I have always thought that I had Hashimoto's disease. I'm talking like 20 years. I've always thought I had it. Always asked my doctors, and they would just be like, "It doesn't matter. We're not going to test you. If you did, you just take thyroid medicine anyway, blah, blah, blah." Well, thankfully, your daughter, my niece, went to school, and now she is my doctor that I send everyone to, anyone I come in contact with, because she ran the blood test and she diagnosed me with Hashimoto's. And so I have been on this journey for a year of having to change things, figure out what works in my body, what doesn't work in my body, which has kind of spurred something in me also as to what other things do I know about myself to be true, but that someone else told me it was not true. And I accepted what they said. And it has caused me to pause in so many areas of my life, figuring out not even so much medically and physically, but spiritually, like in my heart, who God made me be. And then it has opened my eyes to the advice I give, and that I give terrible advice because my advice always is I don't know what to do because I'm on the struggle bus, but I can tell you what not to do because this is what I did and it was terrible. The result was terrible.
Which still could qualify as good advice because you're giving them, don't do this.
So it's just made me wonder how often, as followers of Christ, are we listening to the advice and opinions of someone else versus God's holy word and the Holy Spirit?
Would you please quit preaching today?
Well, because think about it. For 20 plus years, I'm going to the doctor saying, I think I have this. And the doctor telling me, no, you don't, without even testing me, but then saying, but even if you do, there's nothing that can be done about it, which was not true. So, what other advice have we listened to that's just not true?
So
I
you're
don't even
trying to equate this to what do we listen to from Satan by him saying, God didn't say you were this and that and, you know, fearfully and wonderfully made, which we know we are. So is that kind of basically what you're saying?
Yeah, because Peter even said when he was writing to the Peter writes, I forget who Peter was writing to in Peter, so we're gonna call them the Peterites. Who was he writing to? The Peterites. So he was writing to the church of the Peterites, and Daddy used to always. Do you remember Daddy would be like in the part of the Bible where it's like the Hittites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, all that? Daddy would
Yeah.
always end it with the mosquito bites.
Right.
So that's where I came up with the Peterites. That's really not who Peter was
Mm.
writing to, but you know the point I'm making.
Yeah. I don't know. It
So
doesn't matter.
I don't know. So
You're
anyway,
right.
the Peterites, and he's talking about, we got to get rid of all these things because he says you are chosen and you're a royal priesthood and you are living stones. And so if that's kind of been just tumbling around in my brain a lot lately too. And I was like, the voice of truth is so much quieter than the voice of untruth in my head. And not just in my spiritual walk, in everything. Because I can know something. And if I am not careful and you have a good argument, I can walk away believing what you just told me versus what I saw. Because I'm like, well,
Yeah.
maybe what I did see was not exactly what I saw, because 'cause I'm one of those people can see both sides of a coin.
Yeah. See, that's me too. I can see both sides.
So I have to really know what I saw. Like, you would not wanna put me on a witness stand in a criminal trial, because 'cause I'd be like, "I thought they were 6 foot, but she said they were 5'2", so we're gonna go with that. Maybe I was wrong."
We'll just do an average, five,
Yeah,
six, maybe.
I'm not really sure. Not really sure what I saw. I couldn't tell you. Do you remember the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Oh, I love that
I
movie.
love that movie, and when he puts the old lady on the stand and she's like, "It was them," and then he's like they realize that she wears glasses that look like Coke bottles, and they're like, "There's no way she could have seen that." We listen to people like that all the time that are telling us stuff, and they ain't got no glasses on, and they can't see because they dumb too, but we believe them.
Do you think we believe them because, well, I guess one, it's easier to believe the untruth or a lie,
Mhm.
or do we believe them because, or is it easier just to think we just don't know what we're talking about?
That yes, I am beginning to think that we have become such a people of uncertainty, the church, the followers of Christ, the believers, that we have become a people of so much uncertainty that we no longer know what we believe. I look at our grandmother, our mom's mom, we called her Granny. Her name was Lena.
Lena
And
May.
Lena May, and I'm gonna tell you, you wasn't changing that woman's mind. When it came to things of the Lord, she knew what she knew, and she stood on what she knew, and if you told her some bull malarkey, she might smile and she'd be like, and the whole time she thinking, "You nuts." Okay? And she was certain, and I think that generation was a generation of certainty. But I'm seeing as the further and more the older I'm getting,
For sure.
that the more mature I'm getting, the further away from the cross I'm getting, that we are not a people of certainty. And so, because I am not a person of certainty, I'm easily swayed in all things if I'm not careful. Now,
Well,
you know what I'm,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was
Well, I
done.
mean, as you were talking, and let me just, I guess I'll just open the can of worms here. As and it probably a reason that we're becoming like this, a generation of uncertainty is because you look at things today. I mean, we're trying to speak truth of biology
Mhm,
that you have two sexes, a male and a female, but now you have all this noise going on that no, that's not truth, that you could be whatever you want to be. You can be whatever set. I mean, down to if you want to be a cat, you can be a cat, which is completely don't even make sense to me.
mm-mm,
But you have physical science, but we're hearing in our heads all this uncertainty. So are we walking around because it's not in just that topic. I think it's in everything. You can look at everything in our country today that it's always there's nothing certain. Does that make sense? Someone can say something is black and the other side is going to say no, it's not. It's white.
mhm,
Or this is green and somebody's going to say no, this is blue. Just to have an argument. So I think that's probably why I'm not making excuses, but because we're not digging in and knowing the certainty and what God says, we're easily swayed. So therefore, we are a people of uncertainty, which I guess could go back to the example of like Eve in the garden of Adam's the one that told her that God said they couldn't eat from the tree of good and evil. And our preacher preached on this last week, and I've never saw this, and it was so interesting. But Satan's the one that came to her, and she added, "Oh, we can't eat, but we can't also touch it." And then he goes, "Oh, did he really say this?" So then start twisting. So you have that uncertainty, but he made the point as far as So she takes the fruit and she touches it, and nothing happens. She takes a bite, nothing happens. Because he said they would die. It wasn't until she gave it to Adam, who had been given the instructions and knew the certainty, and when he took a bite is when it was exposed that they were naked and was ashamed, and death was brought in. So, I mean, I guess going on your point is that I think the voices around us are a lot more louder, and we're, like you say, we're not digging in to know what the truth is, to be certain. But then conviction for me, if I might know it, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to hurt your feelings. For me to look at you and say, you're completely nuts. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that doesn't even make sense what you're saying because I
mhm.
don't want to be confrontational. And it might be some because I've been told I'm confrontational and intimidating. So therefore, okay, if that's what you want to believe, okay, which is wrong too.
Totally tracking with you because as you were talking, I was thinking about the times where I've been standing there and somebody else has been like, well, just take a bite of it. Just take a bite. I mean, I tasted it. Nothing happened to me. It's fine. And I know the truth. But they stood there and talked to me long enough where finally I took a bite, and then that's when it all fell apart. I'm not saying I'm like Adam. I'm not putting myself in that category. I'm just saying that I can't judge them because I am them. And maybe that's part of, I mean, it's just, it's the sinful nature, but it doesn't give a pass. I think a lot of times I try to pass it by being like, that's just my flesh. That's just my sinful nature. Almost like belittling it and giving an excuse for not speaking truth, for not, well, I can't speak the truth because that would be confrontational. And God, you made me not be a confrontational person. So that's on you. That's me. Look, I'm telling you, I've worked for lawyers too many years because I will come up with a way to make it not be my fault. Narcissist much, are we? I'm just being because I don't want to be blamed. I don't want to be at
Yeah,
fault. But then flip the coin, I take accountability for things that are not my fault. How about that? Just to make the
interesting.
situation stop, I will fall on the sword. And so again, because I don't always stand on truth. I stand a lot of times on the temperature of the room
And who's there? I do
and
that
who's
too.
there. Yeah.
Our preacher has a saying that he says all the time, and it just resonates with me that you cannot, goodness, am I going to say this wrong? You cannot live what you do not know.
Mm,
And he's talking about that's what as far as Christianity, you cannot live what you don't know. And I think that's probably where our problem is, and I mean, I've been guilty of it. I've just stood on the fact that, well, that's what daddy said. Therefore,
mhm,
that's what I believe, without doing the work myself.
right.
And, that's puts us in a really bad situation of not knowing because we can't live what we don't know and understand. I don't know. It was a
Do
profound
you
thought.
think that we choose to stay infants because it gives us an out?
Probably, probably I would have to say yes, but I think the more I think about it for myself personally is because of my habits in some ways. I just don't wanna do the work sometimes. I mean, I just rather you just tell me what I need to do and just let me go that direction. I don't wanna have to dig for it sometimes, it's just yeah, I don't wanna put the work in,
Interesting.
which is odd because I'm the firstborn who typically is the type A personality who wants to be sure. I mean, I wanna do it right, but I don't know. I just don't sometimes I just don't wanna do the work. I mean, like exercise. I need to exercise, but I just really don't wanna put the work in to exercise.
Well, I totally get that. I mean, I would like to just pray and wake up and be thin,
Thank
and
you,
healthy.
right?
Correlating back to having an autoimmune disease, one of the things I'm not supposed to eat is gluten. I don't know if every Hashi patient cannot have gluten. This Hashi patient cannot. And this heifer loves a crystal chick. Okay. I mean, that little square of goodness just melts in my mouth. It is the perfect ratio of pickle and mayonnaise and chicken and bread. I'm telling you, I
From
love a crystal
crystals?
chick. Yes, I
Ugh.
know it's a gut bomb. And let me tell you, I ate some crystal chicks last Thursday and I am still paying for it almost a week later. I'm telling you, my body is ticked over some crystal chicks. And I even told Shane last night, I said, I will never eat crystals as long as I live. You mark my word, I will starve before I eat crystals because I am paying for it. But I go back to, I'm using that as an example for how many times I go back over and over and over and do the same thing over and over because I don't want to make the change knowing the end result every time.
But also maybe also equating it to listening to the bad advice. "Hey, it's just one crystal chick. It's not gonna hurt you." It's like Diet Cokes for me. It's only one Diet Coke. Well, one Diet Coke leads to 2 Diet Cokes to 1 every day to then my joints hurting.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, and I can't speak for other people. My brain is weird. It should be studied by scientists. I'm telling you the way I think of things. But it's interesting to me of the things that I believe, accept, and adopt into my life without giving it a second thought. And then the things that I stop, I pause, I think about before I just accept it. Going back to exercise, well, that is just a tried and true method through eternity that exercise is good for our bodies. It moves our blood. It's good for your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's not that this is new information that is newly researched. Okay. But we don't adopt that, but we'll just get on the Diet Coke, Diet Mountain Dew train in a heartbeat and not think twice about it because it's good. The hard, we want to sit down and dissect it and everything else. But that tastes good. If you have never tasted a Diet Mountain Dew, you might not be understanding what I'm talking about right now, but that is some liquid gold from heaven, let me tell you. And so, but it tastes so good, I don't want to let that go. I know your daughter is just, her spine is shivering knowing I'm drinking Diet Mountain Dew as a Hushy patient. We're working on it, Lauren. We're working on it. But do you see what I'm saying? It's like because it tastes good, I don't want to let it go. I don't want to stop.
Well, while you were saying that, just went back to like talking about Eve here after she listened to the serpent and the deceit he was saying. And then it, verse 6 of chapter 3, it's like when she saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. So, so he's sitting there describing the Diet Mountain Dew, even though we know it's bad for us. You sitting there looking at it, well, it's so good, but then looking over here that we can't have it like you do exercise, we just don't, yeah, it's the whole, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Well,
I don't
but
know. We're just
then
messed up.
as I have a Diet Mountain Dew in my hand, I want to we often want to give advice to someone else about what's wrong in their life. Okay. And I'll even use something currently going wrong in my life as an example for you and expect you to make the change that I don't expect myself to make.
Interesting.
Because I go back to what you said a minute ago, I don't want to do the work.
Don't want to do the work.
See, I want to vicariously feel the change from you doing it. And it doesn't work that way.
Surely we're not the only ones like this.
I don't know.
Surely
if we are, we're going to be on the south side of heaven by ourselves, I reckon, because I'm telling you, the longer I live, the less I understand. And that's frightening. Because I used to think people, like, I'm 51, I'll be 52 this year, and I used to think people in their 50s like understood it all. I know nothing. The fact I'm allowed to walk around this world unattended, unsupervised is remarkable to me.
But our granny, you think of Granny, we thought she just knew it all. I wonder
So
if
what's it
she
going to
was
be
the
like when
same
I'm
way.
80? I don't know.
She
It's
probably felt the same way
concerning.
we did. She was probably still struggling on a few things,
Because
Maybe
true,
we just
we never
assuming.
arrive.
Maybe we're just assuming that
I
she knew.
wonder, here I talk about how she stood on truth. I wonder if she felt like she listened to outside advice and outside sources. I wonder if she felt that way.
Good possibility. So therefore, it all comes down to who are we listening to? Are we listening to the voices around us and listening to the bad advice, or are we seeking out God of what his advice is? And I think that's part of my problem is it's a lot easier to sit face to face like with you and tell you my problems and you give me advice of what I need to do to fix it because I see you, I hear you, I can physically, hear you. And it's a little bit harder with, God. We don't sit down face to face and see, you know what I'm saying? So I struggle with that. And maybe that's part of my problem is it's a lot easier to listen to the advice of others who don't know the whole situation, or they think they know, or they're twisting scriptures to make it suit whatever they want to tell me. And it's a lot easier to do that because I can physically see you instead of wrestling with it with God and taking the time to do the work and search out scriptures to know what I need to do. All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today's episode. If something in this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or just made you feel seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them. Send it to a friend, drop it in a group chat, or post it on your story. That kind of support means the world to us. You always find every episode, updates, and more over at therecoveringpreacherskids.com. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next time.